Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our banter, where we talk about the story Cicada narrated for the week, what parts we liked and what we didn't like about it. This week's animal fact is pigs can run up to 11.5 miles per hour. For those across the lake, that's about 20 kilometers an hour, I believe.
Interesting. That's not super fast. I guess I could outrun a pig.
I mean, most average sprinters are probably doing 11.5 miles an hour.
The average high school sprinter runs about 17 miles an hour.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm definitely slower than a high schooler. I'm not gonna lie, Cicada. I'm the
Ah,
pig. Me and the pig are going, leg for leg right there.
I think you could outrun. I think you could outrun the pig. You got the long cow legs, you know.
Oh yeah. I mean, of course you'd be able to outrun it. You could fly. But besides that point, let's get into this story, Cicada.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It had, in my opinion, it good enough build up and nice pacing for what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. No, I really liked how the author spread it all out. It didn't get right into the bang of it. He built up the scene, built up the characters, and then it slowly unraveled, which is, I think, great writing.
Absolutely, and it's just kind of that there's enough going on through the buildup that you just have the dread of something's happening. And to watch Mr. Sanders, the main character, just not be able to understand or have any sort of fear as to what's going on, I'd be calling somebody the first time I saw something happening.
I agree, and I don't think he ever truly understood the danger he was in till the very end. Like even when his friend died, like he went into the barn, saw his corpse, and was like, "All right, time to drag him out of the trough." And the barn shutters, I swear they were open when I was on the other side, but now they're closed. Like, didn't even register that something could be going on.
Yeah, it feels like he's choosing to ignore it. I'm not gonna take it this way, but I do believe that is just kind of almost poor writing on Huawei's end, giving yourself an out of just like, yep, this guy is a moron, so I don't have to give him any sort of fear or any sort of reaction to the story so I can progress it. I like the way that it's done, so I don't think that that's a bad thing specifically. Um and even specifically you mentioned the his Bill dying and the pigs eating him. When he walked into the barn, the cows are in a wall. I'm out.
Would you, if you were Mr. Sanders, at what point are you calling the vet? Are you calling the vet when you find the dead little piggy and they're all eating them? Because I know pigs, they they will cannibalize, and that's pretty standard. I guess where do you draw the line and be like, hey, I need some help?
I don't think I'd call the vet because they're eating him. I think I call the vet because I run a shovel to pick up the dead pig and there's a root growing out of it. And then a weird pink fleshy tentacle coming out of the dead piglet. That's something's wrong there.
Oh yeah, especially since it's the root, it kind of sets off every animal. Like I believe in the story, like he breaks it and it is just an orchestra of screaming animals. Like the horses are going off, the cows are going off.
Yeah, he describes it as a cacophony of, violent screams.
On a different note, what do you think the pink tentacle was? Like, is it a curse? Just something wrong? Do you think it's an alien?
I think it's some sort of curse. I don't really understand it. My working theory is that the people that rebuilt the barn for them for super cheap are trying to revive some sort of old dead god to bring it back, and that's probably what's happening here. Because otherwise, why are you cursing barns to make all the animals become one hive mind that just try to kill people? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I was kind of going through the similar thought process of like it's an occult, and they are summoning an old god, and they just need enough biomass for this god to actually take shape.
Yeah, that makes sense. Something to give it flesh for it to come back into the world. Um, the way the end sequence plays out there when everything is really happening, it to me happens kind of weirdly almost, and I think that was one of the biggest letdowns of the story to me is he doesn't really you don't get to see it. You don't get to know about it. He just goes upstairs and, you know, or no, he's in the basement. That's what it is. And the tendril reaches up his pant leg and that's it.
Yeah, and I don't know, like in the end, since there was a figure in the barn that was humanoid, but not like, was it the wife's father? Was it Mr. Sanders, like controlled by this pink tendril to go up into the barn to join the rest of the animals? Because it came with the same radio warning of, don't you enter that barn, you hear?
Yeah. Um I would definitely say that that is Mr. Sanders because it calls out to Maud. Um so that's them showing that he's now part of this hive mind.
Why? Okay, if he is part of the hive mind, do you think him doing the warning, Mr. Sanders, is like his last remaining humanity trying to warn his wife? Like, hey, don't come in here? Because the hive mind, like Bill, also warned Mr. Sanders over the phone to turn on the radio, and it said, don't go into that barn. Like, what do you think? Was that the ghost of the people? Was that the hive mind trying to inspire curiosity so they would look in the barn?
I would say it was probably somebody trying to warn them, that last little bit of humanity trying to access what they can with their new situation, trying to at least do one nice thing for his wife after, being a piece of garbage his whole life.
Yeah, no, Mr. Sanders is a very easy hated character. I mean, he definitely seems like he beats his wife. He's an alcoholic. Doesn't seem to care too much about his best friend dying, or as much as he can. I guess he does care. But I guess it earns him some bonus points, Even though his life is over, his last act is trying to encourage the person who he not disrespected, but neglected his whole life to not meet the same fate as him. And I could respect that.
Yeah, I would say that abuse is probably the better word there, but instead of neglected, because he definitely does just abuse her. And I guess you can see that he does care for her when she leaves, when he's throwing that temper tantrum. He doesn't know whether he wants to cover her with kisses or kiss her with a belt. And I think that's just kind of a reflection of, that rural, old school farmer. And it's not, that's not defending him in any way, shape, or form. Those people are garbage. Obviously, abuse is not okay. But with them going into the barn and seeing, Mr. Sanders in there, do you think the barn is like part of it somehow?
I would like to believe the barn is alive. At least that's my first thought process. That whoever like the company that rebuilt this barn, maybe it's in the wood, maybe they installed it in the cellar when they were like digging out the foundation. But I believe the barn causes it all, and it almost felt like a character to me, like it was attached to all these animals because it was able to move on its own throughout the story. Like doors were barred, windows were shut. I think the barn is the crux of it all. Maybe in its own twisted way, it's like a ritual site, like for this old god to come through, a temple, you may say.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought process on that as well. Not that the barn itself is alive, but it's a vessel for whatever this old god or these tentacles are that are, now infecting everything that's in the barn. And then once it acquired enough mass, it started to move out of the barn.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it also like it brought Mr. Sanders, not confirmed, but like in my head canon, it brought Mr. Sanders back into the barn, kind of like I guess a monument of taking over. Like it is just collecting. It's going out. It's grabbing at what it can and bringing it back to its place of worship.
Yeah. Like it is the temple, and that makes sense. That's kind of what I was going for, and I think you said it a little bit better than what I was trying to articulate there. But I definitely agree with you. It's some sort of either temple or vessel or way to continue to advance the end goal of what it wants.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with that. I guess for specifically talking about the ending, did you feel like it was inevitable? Do you think at any point in time throughout that story, Mr. Sanders could have stopped that from happening?
I don't believe that Mr. Sanders could have ever stopped it from happening, but I think had he been not an awful person and not a moron, I think he could have saved himself at least. Much as Maud left, had he just explained the situation to Maud, I think that they could have left together and gotten help and then come back after everything happened and probably saved themselves or maybe done something to stop the barn in the daylight.
I I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there. I do feel like Mr. Sanders tried explaining to Maud that there was something wrong with the pigs. I don't think this is going to be a jab at Mr. Sanders. I don't think he was, sober enough, smart enough to actually explain the problem. Because all that Maud got from it was, my husband's afraid of pigs. Now he's expecting me to deal with it. And then Mr. Sanders had his crash out and chucked a whiskey glass at Maud.
And he hit her. He gave her
Yeah.
a black eye because when Bill shows up, she's got the black eye. When he first tried to talk about it,
I just think Mr. Sanders as a character was not emotionally developed enough to even warn someone about it, which I kind of like. He knows something's wrong, but he's too stubborn and not emotionally intelligent enough to actually explain it.
yeah, absolutely. Uh, I guess my question for you with the ending: do you think the barn gets them? Maud and her father. Do you think that they do go inside and that the barn adds two more to its collection?
From memory, I do believe the father did enter the barn because, he was trying to talk to Mr. Sanders about his behavior. I don't think Maud entered the barn. I know she was peeking into it and saw the humanoid character. If she had enough mind to leave when Mr. Sanders was beating her, I do think she would have the mind to hightail it out of there.
I would say yes if it was just Mr. Sanders, but her father is in there. So if the humanoid figure, because it doesn't say who the humanoid figure is, it could be Mr. Sanders or it could be her father who's already been, transformed lickety split. But I would think that she does walk in there. She wants to see where her father goes.
That's that's fair cuz she's almost like responsible for bringing him there. She went home and brought her father here. So she's not going to leave her dad to, well, she doesn't understand that, like, what's going on. I don't think she would leave her dad to die.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process on that as well. But I would say that that's everything I was looking to talk about. Do you have anything else that you'd like to touch on?
I've got one more question, and this is
Ooh.
again about the ending, more about, I wanted to hear your opinion because I got this whole headcanon for a different outcome. Do you think if Mr. Sanders left the piglet alone, didn't break the root, there would have been a different outcome? Because from my understanding, like, it started off as a piglet in my head canon. If he left it alone, that pig body would have continued growing and all these animals would have kept feeding on it. And I think him snapping it caused everything to kick off.
I disagree with you, actually. I would say that had he not touched it, I think that this timeline would have just been bumped up several hours faster. I think that him cutting that root off, it had to kind of restart almost. And then it took a little bit while longer for everything to get where it needed to be. I think he leaves it and that root starts to just infect everything else really quickly.
Fair enough. On that note, are you ready to do our ratings?
Absolutely. I can go first if you'd like.
That works for me.
All right. Well, I would say I liked this story. I liked it a lot. It was good, had good pacing, everything kind of tied in. There's enough loose ends to make you wonder, but not enough to make you really mad at the story for not finishing itself out. So I'm going to go ahead and give The Barn a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay. I've read the story previously when I was younger. I remember it being a banger story. Definitely a page turner, one would say. Just for nostalgia and for it actually living up to the expectations I remembered, I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10.
Right on. Um, Unfortunately, though, Cal, the hour draws late and there are other things that we must attend to.
That's correct, Cicada. It's time to bar the bar doors and wish everyone a good night.
Good night,
We'll
everyone.
see you next week. Good night.